because your brain keeps score, just like the body keeps the score, your brain keeps score. And part of this is rewriting your story, which we can talk about too if you want. But essentially, you want to list down the evidence that you are already becoming the person that you want to be, as opposed to focusing on evidence of being the old person. I knew this wouldn't work. I knew I couldn't change. You focus on the things that are, and you block out the rest. This is all you focus on is moving forward. Does that make sense?
Can't be contained.
That's what I'm talking about.
Cynthia Garcia, welcome to the Can't Be Contained podcast. I'm so excited to hang with you.
Yeah, it's going to be so good. I love you. Do you know that? I hope you know that.
Ditto, kiddo. I feel like we met so recently, but we've known of each other just spiraling in each other's vortexes for like a decade.
At least, right?
Wild. God was like, this is going to be a good one, so I'm going to make you wait for
it. Yes, but then I met you in person and I was like, can you move in with me? Like, why is this not happening already?
Dude, I've seen your house on the gram. I would move in with you and Zach. I'd be like the weird, like I'd be like Rain's sister, you know? Like,
yeah. I'd love it. She would love it. She'd be so happy. She loves the big girls, like the older girls. Like it's her vibe right now. So yeah, you would totally be her big sister.
Oh my gosh, I love this. I totally would. She seems so cool. I can't wait to have a mini me. What's it like to have a miniature version of you?
It's the best and hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Is it still hard?
Yeah, it never gets easier. It never, ever, ever. I mean, and it's not that it's hard. It's just so much. I mean, you love them in a way that, I mean, it's hard to explain. Like I would give everything for her. I would give my life for her. And in like a second. And I'd heard people say that, like moms say that before. And I was like, yeah, love them. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
But when you have it, I was just like, oh my God. So I constantly am thinking about her. Is she okay? Does she need anything? Does she, like I'm that kind of.
Yeah.
So yeah, it never gets, and then whatever she's going through, I go through it. Do you know what I mean? And it's just
100%.
like,
100%.
Yeah. But she's great in that, like, I coach her. It's so cute. She becomes the teacher sometime. That's really funny. That's funny. So yeah, she has a lot of tools and we speak the same coaching language. So that's fun.
Oh my gosh, I love this. It's so interesting how, like, I'll call my mom and I'll be like, just sad about something or upset, and I'll call her, and because she feels so deeply, like she starts crying. I'm like, Mom, this is not helpful.
Oh my God. Okay, but I love that you have that moment because I didn't. I don't know if I don't think we've ever talked about this. I don't know. Wow. I didn't have that moment, and I want to tell you, like, here was my thing, Sam. I was terrified to have a kid because I didn't think I would know how to mother her, and I wanted that so bad. But I was terrified that I would like just not know what to do and somehow it would fuck her up or whatever. Because I grew up not having that. So, but it's also been very healing. And I've done a lot of work. We've done all the work, right? Just on that journey. And it feels really good now. And I have always also been really honest with her from the very beginning. I would say, listen, Mama doesn't really know how to navigate this, but I'm here with you. And together we can figure it out. And let's talk about it. Like I never pretended that I had it all figured out. I was like, okay, we're in this together. Let's just talk. Like, what do you feel? And that sort of thing. So anyways, it's been a very long, beautiful, powerful journey. And she's my best teacher.
Did you have to go through a lot of mother wound healing before having a child, or was it sort of all happening simultaneously?
I did. So I did a lot of work before, but people who are mothers are going to be like, that's cute. That's cute. So I did the work before, but you never know what you're in for, like you never know. And then they arrive and it's nothing like I had expected. And I knew I would be triggered and I knew I'd probably be inefficient in some ways. I think we all mothers think that they are. But it hit hard. And then I had postpartum depression too, which was really tough. I've dealt with depression my whole life, so I had some tools for that, but this was different. And I have a baby that's not sleeping. She was born a month early, so it was a shit show. Like it was rough. And so after she was maybe, I want to say like 9 or 10 months old, I really immersed myself into more of the work. Had a beautiful ayahuasca experience. This was way back in the day. Had that mother conversation that we were just talking about, because that's what I went in to work on with the medicine. And that was really powerful and moving. We can talk about it or not, but that shifted everything for me. And then, like I said, from there, it's just been, we're in this together kind of vibe with her. And yeah, it's been a beautiful thing.
How has your upbringing, and I want to go deep into your upbringing because I was just blown away. Like I had the privilege of hearing your story when we were hanging out in Austin a couple months ago.
Right.
And I'm curious how your upbringing and how your relationship with your parents and those, first 10 years of your life shaped you into who you are today.
Oh my gosh, like where do I even begin with this? So one of the things too, just to backtrack, Sam, on the mother wounds and kind of healing that, and not that this is for everyone, it's certainly not, but I, through a lot of the work that I had done, realized that my journey, my work with my mother, it just felt complete. And the way that felt complete was just shutting down that relationship. And I didn't feel like, I think some people are meant to change and evolve in this lifetime, and some just aren't. And there's no judging. I think that's totally okay. I think we're all on our own paths, and 100%. And so our souls were, had diverged in a wood. And it was a situation, I won't go into it, that happened with my daughter. I took my daughter to visit my parents, and my mother did this thing that she'd always done since the time I was young. And it was just mentally and emotionally abusive. And it was in front of my daughter. And that was kind of the breaking point. I think that's how that was the kind of ending the cycle for good, as opposed to, let me see if I can navigate, work through, transform and heal her. That was never going to happen. And so that was kind of the breaking point for me. But not in a bad way. It was very positive, and the parting was positive, and we no longer have a relationship, but my relationship with my daughter is just golden. And so just to share that. But in terms of how my upbringing really informed my work, I would say in every way. Like, I think we're all products of our childhood, and obviously the lives that we've lived. And I know we all teach sort of the things that we've learned. And for me, the work that I do around rewriting stories actually came from something that happened when I was 8 years old. So I'll tell you the story. So I woke up on my 8th birthday, stoked, right? I'm 8 years old, my birthday. And I didn't expect much. You should also know that I grew up in extreme poverty, right? Like, we relied on government assistance and food stamps and disability checks. We had no running water in our home. We had an outhouse for the first 15 years of my life. I remember we'd go to bed early because we didn't have food for dinner. And so instead of being hungry, we would just go to bed, and then we'd have to be hungry, right? So dumpster diving, all of those things, that was how I grew up. And so I knew that, I've heard people say, we were poor, but I didn't know it because the house was filled with love. I knew it. I was very clear. My house was not full of love. It was full of drug abuse and alcohol abuse and physical abuse and domestic violence. And it was just kind of a wild situation. So anyways, I get up on my 8th birthday, and I'm excited because it's my birthday, right? It's my birthday. And I go in, and my little feet, are padding on this rough, kind of worn down carpet. And I walk into the living room, and I see my mother, and she's sitting on the couch, and she's having her morning cup of coffee and smoking a cigarette, right? That was her.
Inside.
Of course, yes, right in the living room. And so I walk in, and I, do my little thing, and I think she probably says hello to me, and I say hello, and I look around like I'm peeking, and there's nothing. And I'm like, okay, they're going to surprise me later. And so I go about my day, and I fight with my sister, and I play outside in the woods, and I do all of these kinds of things, and nothing. Right. And sometimes I keep peeking into the house to see, are they going to be here? Is there going to be something? But nothing. So the day goes on, and it starts to get dark. And now I'm starting to get concerned, right? I'm like, my birthday, it's my birthday. It's all I've thought about all day. And so I think, okay, surely something is happening in the house now. Let me go in. So I go into the house, and my mom sitting on the couch, and there's nothing. And at the time, remember, I'm 8 years old. And all I could think of in that moment was to blurt out, because she said, "Hey, what do you want?" Something like that. And I said, "Do I have a present?"
Mm.
And she looked at me and she said, "Why would you have a present?" And I said, "Oh, because it's my birthday." And she looked at me and her lip kind of curled a little. And she said, "So?" And in that moment, I wrote a story. And the story said, "You're not special and you don't deserve anything." Right? Even on your birthday. If your mother doesn't remember your birthday and it's not a big deal, you're not very special, right? You don't really matter. And you certainly don't deserve gifts and presents. And you certainly don't do. So my whole life was spent, and still to this day, Sam, I deal with this story of unworthiness. You're not good enough. You're not special. Who are you to stand out? Who are you to say these things? Who are you to teach people? You know what I mean? And so the blessings that come in and all of the gifts I receive, underlying that was this old story. And so I've spent, again, an entire lifetime of rewriting those stories. And then when I moved into coaching, I saw everyone had these stories. And I thought, okay, this is the real work. Because as you know, being in business, we can teach the tools, the strategy, the tactics all day long. But if we have that limiting mindset and these old stories and narratives, you're never going to move forward. Do you know?
100%. My curiosity is, despite having those stories, despite having the unworthiness and the adversity and the I'm not good enough and I don't deserve this, you still managed to have an incredible amount of success then and now, later in your career. What was it? Like, what was that thing inside of you that decided to continually grow and evolve and drive and create despite the trauma and the old stories?
Yeah, it's such a good question. And I think part of it I was born with. I think that we come to this world with different features and traits and some bugs too thrown in there. But that's just who we be. And so I think I had some of that. The other was I just had such a rough childhood. I was bullied. I was teased. I, wore hand-me-down clothes from my younger cousin who was almost 4 years younger than I was. So my clothes didn't fit. As I mentioned, we didn't have running water, so we couldn't always take baths. So I'd go to school kind of smelly. And that was really hard for me. And every day this happened. I was teased. I was made fun of. And for years and years and years, all the way up into high school. And I just so desperately wanted something different. I wanted a different life. I wanted to smell good and look good and wear nice clothes and have a home that actually had a bathroom in it. And I also knew from a very young age, because I had such a tumultuous relationship with my mother, that I wanted to be a mother, but I wanted to be a great mother, and that I was going to give my daughter all the things I didn't have so that she didn't have to live the same experience that I had. So there was all of those things kind of running in the background. But then the other part of that, to be completely honest, is I didn't have a lot to lose.
Sure. Oh, that's good.
It wasn't like I was like, oh, this is pretty good. I could lose there was nothing. I didn't know where to go but up. And the thing that changed everything for me truly was stories. And it was books and it was education, because my little world was very closed in and I didn't see a lot of possibility, because we lived in like this coal mining town in the Appalachian Mountains and everyone lived like this. And so, but through books, I saw other lives. I saw other lifestyles. I saw possibilities, right? And I knew education was the key, which is why I focus so much on education today, whether it's certification of coaches or educating people on how to build their businesses through courses or coaching. When you have that education, no one can take that away from you. It's everything. It's true. I truly believe that. And so that's really informed a lot of the work that I do these days.
Talk to me about, in today's day, how you constantly shift your identity. Because I've watched you grow. I was like, this chick is unstoppable. Like, you just constantly hit new levels of success and fulfillment and freaking beauty. Like, what the heck?
No, getting older.
And And so what is your process for like identity change and story change? And a lot of what you talk about is it's not necessarily what you do, it's who you are. Can you talk a little bit about that philosophy?
Yeah. So when I had my daughter and she was a little teeny tiny thing, she didn't sleep very well through the night. Get ready for it. It's going to happen.
Oh gosh.
So I'm sitting there one night and I'm reading, and I read a lot of self-help, still do, self-help back in the day. And I was reading a book by Earl Nightingale, who was kind of like one of the OGs of personal development. His stuff is golden. And I read this sentence and it said, "We are all self-made, but only the successful will admit it." And I was like, oh, interesting. So I realized that whatever I am is of my own making. I can't blame anyone, which I had done a lot. I'd be like, well, it's their fault. I don't have the same opportunity, whatever. But essentially, I was the reason that I was the person that I was today. And so that was really, really powerful for me. And so when I realized that I could create who I wanted to be and then become that person, that's when everything really shifted for me. So I see most coaches focusing on habit change and outcomes, right? You do this, you get a morning routine, you change this habit, you use tiny habits, right? And eventually they lead to these outcomes. But we actually know that that's not true. The real key to change doesn't lie in what you do, as you said, it lies in who you be. So this is identity, or self-identity. Or self-image. And identity is how you see yourself. And you will only ever succeed to the limits of your identity. And so a lot of the reason people aren't becoming more successful is because they don't see themselves as successful. That's not their identity. Their identity is one of the burnt out, the struggling entrepreneur, the person looking for the next magic button or quick fix or silver bullet or whatever it is. And it doesn't work that way, which is why I focus so much on identity-based coaching. So years ago, when I first started coaching, I was in weight loss, and I developed a really successful weight loss program, wrote a book, sold over 1 million copies, helped a lot of people. It was beautiful. And I remember I was going on the Dr. Phil show to talk about it. And as a result, they were like, well, we need to see proof. So I put this huge group through the weight loss program. There was a woman who went through it, lost over 100 pounds, living her best life. I met her on the show. It was amazing. I ran into her. We had a little reunion about a year later. Guess what had happened?
She had gained all the weight back.
Yeah, the weight back. And I said to her, meet her name, what happened? And she said, Cynthia, I don't know. And then she said, I guess I'm just not the skinny girl. And it hit me. And I was like, oh, right. You're not. Because in her mind, and she said this to me, I said, say more about that. And she said, well, when I look in the mirror, I still see the weight. I'm still the fat girl. Her words. When I go to the refrigerator, I still reach for the cookies and the whatever, right? And I realized that even though her habits may have changed and she got a temporary outcome, because she didn't change who she saw herself as, how she identified, she went back to old habit. You will always stay tied to your identity. You will never give it up. No Baptist ever woke up Sunday morning and was like, you know what? I think I'm going to go see what the Catholics are up to. They seem like pretty good people. I don't know. Let me just go see what they're doing. No one's ever done that. If you're a vegan, you don't sit down for a restaurant and be like, bring me a steak, make a steak, bloody. You don't, right? You're like, no, vegan. Right? And so that is the power of identity. And we're only now starting to see true research that's been happening over decades to prove this point that it really truly is who you be, not what you do.
So how then do we adapt the identity before the results show up? Because I feel like this is people's biggest sticking point is like sticking to the identity. So my fiance over the last 8 months, he has been on this like amazing health journey. Like he's lost 40 pounds. I'm like, and like got all of this muscle. And I'm like, what's going on? Like 40 pounds of fat. And then I'm like, what the heck? And this is what we were talking about of, he changed his identity to I am an athlete and just embodied that every freaking day. And so I'm curious from your perspective, how do people embody the identity without the results showing up? And how do they stick to it when there is so much evidence for the other side of the identity that they've been addicted to for decades?
Yeah, so such a great question. So the way this works is the first thing that you have to do is get super clear on your future self. Who is that? How do they act? Right? And what you do is you essentially create an outline of that person. Go through their whole day. When they wake up, what do? Who do they wake up next to? What's the view when they wake up? When they walk into the bathroom, what's the first thing that they do, right? And so you build out this idea of your future self. That's the first thing. Because if it's just really vague as opposed to crystal clear, you're not going to really understand that person. Like I visualize my future self every single day. I have what I call a self-made meditation. I do it at night. I write down that day in my planner who I want to be. I have a whole self-made planner. We can give it to your audience for free.
I was going to say, can we get those links and put them in the show notes for them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I'll give you the guided meditation too that I use, the self-made meditation that I use for morning and night. It's so powerful. But when you get clear on who your future self is, then you can show up and act as if. You'll know exactly how they respond in every circumstance or every situation. And then you can do the same thing. Because the other thing that we now know through narrative psychology is the way that we've been programmed to change and transform is to start where you are, set a goal way out here, and then take a step. And try to get closer, right? But we actually know now that it doesn't work that way. We actually know now that you are actually not pushed forward from the present and the past, but rather you were pulled by your present. And so the more clear and specific and excited you can be about your future self, that will pull you forward. And it's so much easier because like a lot of people say to me, and maybe they say this to you, I just don't have any willpower. But you don't need it when you change your identity. You don't think about, should I go do the workout? Should I eat the food? It's just who you be. So you just show up and you do the thing. And to your point of evidence, so I have an evidence tracker and I give this to all of my students. We share it in the Modern Life Coach School and our coach certification program to where when you get clear on your future self, you track evidence of that. Right? Because your brain keeps score, just like the body keeps the score, your brain keeps score. And part of this is rewriting your story, which we can talk about too if you want. But essentially, you want to list down the evidence that you are already becoming the person that you want to be, as opposed to focusing on evidence of being the old person. I knew this wouldn't work. I knew I couldn't change. You focus on the things that are, and you block out the rest. This is all you focus on is moving forward. Does that make sense?
100%. How do we do what I've noticed with you is your relationship to money feels so clean and so effortless and so relaxed.
Yeah.
So give us the code, Cynthia Garcia, coming from absolutely beyond poverty.
Yeah.
No running water. Did you guys hear that? To now living this wealthy AF life where you just embody and ooze abundance. It's just beautiful. Talk to us a little bit about embodying more of that medicine.
Yeah. So this is really where the narrative that you're telling yourself comes into play. For me, I've told myself a lot of stories around money. I have to work really hard to get money. Once I have money, I have to hold on to it really, really tightly or it will go. I also told myself stories and asked myself questions like, who will pay you that much for this thing? So at the end of the day, when it comes to money, just like it comes to relationships or anything else in your life, health, whatever it might be, it all starts with this rewriting of your stories, right? You have to let go of the things that happen. You have to shift from this victim mentality. Like I know I had it for a really long time. I would look at other people and say, well, it's easy for them. They were born with money. It's easy for them. They knew this person. They had this connection. And all of my own bullshit and blaming and framing was only serving to make the story that I was telling true for me.
Right.
And as a result, it was true for me. And so when I changed that and realized, again, everyone is self-made, but only the successful will admit it, I let go of that. And I started reframing the stories and saying, yes, they were born with money, but I had to be resourceful
Sure.
and I had to problem solve, and I can figure things out. So I figured these things out. I'll figure this out too. Right. And it really became my own journey. It wasn't looking out here at all the things I couldn't or didn't or wouldn't or what have you. And it was looking inside at how do I rewrite the stories of, oh, this happened to me, to no, these things created these really powerful assets that I can now take and do anything with, and money included. So it's no different than any other area of your life. Whatever you choose it to be is what it will be.
And are you specific in that on like a monthly basis? You're like, this is the amount of money that I desire to attract this month, or do you do it on a yearly basis? Like, walk us through a little bit of your process.
Both. So I get really clear. I have 10 years, 5 years, 1 year goals right now. And I also have monthly and weekly goals. And I don't track it too tightly in terms of weekly. I do per month. And I've just decided, which sounds so silly to say, but I just decided that I'm no longer available to receive any less than this set amount. And when that continues to be effortless, I'll raise it to the next amount. Like, I'm getting ready to do that because I'm feeling I'm kind of at this pivot in my life. I had just had a birthday, as you know, and that kind of serves as my new year, and I reevaluate everything and what I'm going and what I'm doing. And I just choose that I'm no longer available for anything less than this. And then I just act as if, I look at, okay, well, if that's no longer available for that, then what does that require? And I just work backwards from that, right? A few things about money too is I've learned how valuable I am and how valuable my knowledge is. I know that if I put you through my self-made method course and you pay $2,000 for it, I know that you can make $100,000 over the next 12 months. So I don't shy away from selling my products because I know when people say, I want to be a health coach, should I enroll at ITN, which is my school? I say, yes, absolutely. You should do the G1. I can sign you up right now, literally right now, because I know the investment and I know the return, right? So that's the other part. It's just feeling really great about what you have to offer and knowing the results that people will get, knowing your worth and knowing the worth of what you're putting out into the world. So it's all very cyclical. Do you know what I mean?
That last thing you said is really, really powerful. Like having this rock solid confidence of the offer that you're giving to the world and really knowing that that offer is going to absolutely get them the transformation. That's why you see all these like marketing bros like come in and they're like, this is the best thing ever. And then they're like gone. I'm like, Brady, where are you? You were like the hottest thing a year ago and they're gone because there's nothing that they're standing on and there's nothing that they're standing behind, And so I love that. I love that you shared that because it's like, this thing will absolutely change your life. And the investment, the small amount of investment based on the ROI of your life forever changing is so minimal. Like it's a no-brainer. Like, I love that.
It is. And and that's been my own journey is education. I didn't know anything, right? And I told you I started in the health field, as you know. And so even that, when I realized like, I need this education, I know that I can help people. I know I've been through some shit, but I don't know how to translate that into lessons for other people. So, and I didn't have any qualifications or anything like that. So I found a program. There's no way I could have afforded it, but I was like, well, I can just call it quits or I can do what my future self would do. So I remember I called the school and I said, would it be okay if I put it on 2 credit cards? Because I didn't have enough of a limit on one. And she said, of course, it's totally fine. And then I was like, what about 3?
How much can I push this?
Right. And so, but I did that because I was investing in what felt, was the only thing I had to invest in. That was me. And that education in health and nutrition has made me tens of millions of dollars since that time. So I know it. I am my work. I live it. I've seen it in other students. So I'm very confident in what I have to offer.
There's a direct correlation that I can see between my revenue and the personal work that I do. It's like the deeper that I go into investing in myself, the more it's, at first I was like, that's a coincidence. You know, like the first, 25 times that it happened. Now I'm like, it is undeniable. If I want to bump my revenue up, just invest in myself, do something, whether it's like a somatic healing around whatever, or hiring a mentor, or getting a certification, or going on a retreat, or whatever it is. The ROI on self-investment is just extraordinary.
So it's so true. And do you know, like there's these new studies that we're looking at now, again, just in the field of neuroscience. And do you know that oftentimes our emotional need is met by just purchasing the course or product alone? You don't even have to use it. Isn't it insane? Yeah. But through that, your identity shifts. Because now you're the person who invests in you, which means you're now the kind of person, like it's an identity statement. I'm the kind of person who, right? Yeah. You're now the kind of person who is smarter, is more confident in what they have to offer. You invest in yourself. And so you understand other people investing in their selves, right? And it elevates and changes your identity. And so it may not be obvious to you in the moment, but I guarantee the way you show up after you make those investments is different. And maybe it's from what you learned in that course, and maybe it's just from the fact that you took action and invested in the course, but you will be a different person. You will show up more confident, you will show up more in control, and people feel that. And of course, they give you more money, right? Because now that's what you are available for. So it's that direct correlation every time.
Yeah, I love your terminology and your words around this is what I'm available for, and this is what I am not available for. And there's what I feel from you sharing that is there's this clarity and this precision of like, it's almost like a self boundary, right? With the universe. Like I am not going below this. Like this is what it is, and this is what it's not. And I really believe like when we set those boundaries, when we claim, when we declare, when we say that, the universe literally responds in our favor. Like we are cultivating and creating reality moment by moment with our thoughts, with our identities, with our energy. I love that.
Yeah. But it's something that we know to be true, right? Yeah. And so sometimes you and I have this conversation and people will be like, oh, that's so woo-woo. That's, they live in LA. But the fact is, what we know through neuroscience is that you're literally changing the structure of your brain when you tell it these new stories, right? When you say, I'm no longer available for this, your brain goes, oh, okay, cool. Well, I guess I better get my shit together. And you will literally think different. So when you become your future self and you get so clear on who that is, and you say, okay, well, my future self is only available for $100,000 months. That's all. That's who I be. That's who I am. Yeah. Then your brain starts to work different. Because if I said to you, Sam, how could you double your revenue next year? You would sit and you'd be like, okay, I would do this. I'd reach out to this person. I'd raise this price. You would figure it out. It would be logical, right? Yeah. But if I said to you, how do you 20x or even 10x your income next year? You'd be like, fuck, I don't really know right off, right? Yeah. So, but I guarantee you, if you envisioned who you would be at 10x your yearly revenue and you saw her and you saw the team, then your mind starts to work in reverse. And it's like, oh, okay, so if I'm this person and I have this team, and you backtrack and your brain thinks of ideas that it couldn't have thought at when you were just being the future self who doubled your income. Do you see what I'm saying?
100%.
Like you'll think so big and you'll come up with ideas. It's why like Benjamin Hardy wrote a great book called 10X is easier than 2X. And he's right. And there's so much research. I'm kind of a research nerd. But it's because like you have to think completely outside the box. Yeah. Sending a few more emails isn't going to do it, right? And so you have to literally become someone else. And when you do, your brain shifts too. We're the ones limiting our brain and the possibilities that it can come up with. And the way we're doing that is through our current and future identity. So when you shift that, your brain expands, your thoughts expand, your possibilities expand, and you can be different. Does that make sense?
100%. As you were sharing that, I was like, okay, here's what I would do if I like 2x, it would be easy.
Yeah.
Right. Here's what I would do.
Right.
We get double the amount of partners, we add more ad spend. We triple our, or get whatever it is. But then when you said 10x, my brain immediately went to partner with Delta Airlines and create a breathwork track for people to release anxiety on the plane.
Right.
That would massively, like that one domino. And dude, at the end of the day, from my experience, those like big gangster moves are honestly easier than everything it takes in order to do all like the little minutia of increasing ad spend and all of that kind of stuff.
Yes, because everybody's hitting up those other partners that you said you could go to. Everybody's doing that. Everybody's like, I got this thing. And they're like, for fuck's sake. Okay.
Yeah.
How many people are reaching out to Delta?
Yeah.
So there's less competition. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
And by the way, I love that for you. And yes, you should absolutely go to Delta. And let's
now I'm like, I should do that today.
But why not? Why would you not? But if you're thinking from your 2x self, you would never have thought of that. Right.
100%.
And that's the power of identity.
Yeah. I learned a beautiful lesson. One of the only jobs that I've ever had in my whole life, I think I've had like 2, and one of them was a restaurant, but one of them, I worked at when I was living in London, England, I worked at a hair salon, and it was the most prestigious hair salon in a little area called Marylebone in London. And their haircuts were like £300, like not $300, £300, which I don't know what that is right now.
A lot of money.
A ton.
Right.
And he talked about this concept of an iceberg, right? At the very top, like those big moves like Delta Airlines or charging £300, no one's competing there. No. So it's actually so much easier than trying to compete on price where everyone is hanging out. So how could we increase our identity of what's possible for us? So we go after all of those, it's just, it's fun.
That's it. But people don't do that.
Right.
They start right here and they blame their past and they think, oh, it's my past that I'm this way, my mom, my dad, whatever, right? And then we limit ourselves. But when we start playing from a different mind space, we can truly create anything that we want. We really can.
100%. What does 10 years from now look like for you?
Oh my gosh.
What are you doing?
Yeah, I know. So 10 years from now,
you'll be 40. So
I will be 32, but that's okay. No,
I almost choked when you said you were 47. You just celebrated your 40. I'm like, what?
I know. It's wild. It's so
amazing.
But it's hitting hard. I'm telling you, the perimenopause and like the hormones, it's a real thing. We'll talk because you're like 23 now. So just wait for it. But 10 years from now, I have sold my skincare company. We sold for $100 million, which was super cool. Oh, yeah. I know it was great. And Rain is now what I mostly spend my time doing is advising her and running her business. And Zach and I travel a lot, but not too much because we have these 2 little kittens and we spend a lot of time. I know we love to spend a lot of time with them. It's hard to leave them. And we've built our dream house. And so we don't ever want to leave. And what I do now, really more for fun and as a way of giving back, is I sit on different boards. I've written several books. I started with my memoir 5 years ago, and that became a bestseller. And so ever since then, it's just been sharing my stories and how I rewrote them and inspiring others to show them what's possible. Mentoring young women in business is a lot of fun for me. But I don't have to work anymore. I just do it because I love it, because it feeds my soul.
All right, you guys, did you hear the freaking certainty? You said that as if it's already done. It's already done. And so
it is.
Yes,
it's 100% done.
Exactly. And this is it, my loves. Case and points. Owning it. I'm 100% certainty. There's no plan B. This is exactly. She shared that. It's already done. It's already happening. And so it removes the doubt, it removes the uncertainty, and then we can just get into action.
Yeah, there's no will I, or if this happens. It's just, it did happen. And that was a wild ride, but it happened and it was amazing, right? I don't the other thing too is not being so caught up on the how, right? Because I bet you, Sam, if I would have said to you 10 years ago to map out your future, there's no way you could have been like, oh, well, I'm going to do X. My life has not been at all step by step what I thought it would be, but the outcomes have been greater than that. And that's all I have to focus on. That's my business, right? That's all I focus on. And then the rest of it comes.
So good. So good. All right. So you're going to hook us up with that manifestation, vision.
I will. Yeah.
Situation.
Self-made meditation. I'll give you the planner pages that I use literally every day. I've used them for years. I couldn't find a good planner, so I made my own. Nothing that talked about identity and stories and future casting, so I made my own. So yeah, I'll give that to you guys, and you can take it home with it. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And if you're wanting to know, like, I also have this really cool thing. We've had tens of thousands of people take it, and it's a quiz that tells you what your number one stuck story is. So it's so good, right? There's 5 default stuck stories and we all have one dominant one. And mine was the victim, right? Like there's a victim, there's a pleaser. They're actually really fun to kind of get in and take the quiz. It takes like 2 minutes and you see which one you are. And then at the end of that, there's like this whole breakdown of your stuck story, where it came from, what your traits and tendencies likely are, and then a really cool training on how you can go back and start to rewrite those stories like we've been talking about and create your future self. So that's really powerful and fun. If you want, we can link to that just so people can kind of go a little bit deeper.
Is there like a sexy little short link or like a Cynthia Garcia /quiz situation over there?
That's exactly what it is.
Oh my God.
/quiz. How did you know?
Because I know the marketer in me loves the marketer in you. And like, that's just so easy to say on podcasts.
That's it. There you go. Yeah. And you can find everything at my website, but that's a really fun one. People really enjoy that. It's a good time.
I love that.
Yeah. And if you take it, you got to share with me what your result is. I want to know.
Yeah.
But I know what you are.
What do you think?
Okay.
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to take it and I'm going to text you. I'm going to text you. It has been so dope getting to know you since April. You were just a ray of sunshine. You're so fucking hilarious. You're so successful. You're so smart. Like, that was one of the things in April. I was like, this chick's absolutely stunning and wicked smart. And it's just so cool to see your integrity in your business and your authenticity and the way you show up as a friend, a business person, a wife. You guys are married, right? A wife, a mother, all the things. I'm just
10 years. Can you believe it?
10 years.
Oh, it's wild. It's just so crazy. I know. He's my heart. Like, I'm so excited for your wedding. You'll love it.
I can't wait, babe. I can't wait. It's so good to find a good one.
I'm telling you, I kissed all the frogs. Like, literally. I don't know if you, but part of that was me, and we won't get into that. But it's how I saw myself and what I thought I was worthy of. You know what I mean?
Identity, baby.
You get it. You get it.
Identity.
So
baby.
yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. The right relationship is such an amplifier. Holy crap. And the wrong relationship is so emotionally expensive.
Say it again. Say it again. Say it again. Where were you? 15 years ago. No, I love you. I hope you know that. And I love what you're doing. And I love the people who are attracted to you, the people in your community who see your beauty and your brilliance and you just playful out. And I have such a respect for people who do that, who just don't give a single fuck what anyone thinks. And you just show up and you live your life and you are you. And I think that's why you've attracted people in your community who are the same exact way. I think you're just you're just like a little fairy. Like you're like a breath of fresh air. I love it so much.
It's Thanks, babe.
Yeah.
Thank you. I love that. Such a beautiful reflection. Well, everyone listening, go get in Cynthia Garcia's world. I will pop the links below. It's I am Cynthia Garcia on Instagram, right?
I am Cynthia Garcia on Instagram. Yeah. On all the socials. And then my website is just CynthiaGarcia.com.
Amazing.
Find all the goodies there.
Well, thanks, babe.
Thank you. So Thanks for having me. Yeah. I appreciate you and love you. And
I love you too.
We'll talk soon, I'm sure.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
Take care.
Okay. Bye.